Oh, there we go. Need the audio, huh? Um, very cool. I really like the idea of being able to include artists in this process. There's quite a bit to learn from their experiences. So we should be seeing a notebook. Is that happening? Radical. All right. Let me get into Zen mode here. It's kind of the way I present now. Uh, Man, in the past we would have seen like 3 or 4 notebooks by now. So I feel like I'm dressed for a different party. But anyway, I'm gonna share this weird notebook. And I'm gonna talk about a bunch of my experiments in using notebooks as a medium for video. So I've always taken a very broad, like outsider perspective on the notebook. I see it as a tool for art and science and literature. But also too, I have this really fluid concept of physical notebooks for drawing and calligraphy, and computational notebooks. So I try and like achieve the same quality of emotion or feeling working in both. For me, I'm curious about like how we get since notebooks are like a new media. How do we stop getting them to do the work of the old and do the work of the new? So I'm kind of starting off with this like connection here between skate parks and Jupyter Lab. This was something that Nick and I talked about in a presentation years ago. This juxtaposition of the two and being able to do tricks and have fun and build community, I see a lot of parallels there. But what I've been really interested by recently is this concept of hyper film. Uh, and in when Ted Nelson presented the concept of hypertext and hypermedia in his 1960 paper, the paragraph afterwards had this concept of hyperfilm, which is something we haven't heard yet, but we're really seeing a proliferation of film in the world and in media. So I can start to understand it a little bit more, but I don't understand stuff until I start playing with it. So there's this really cool Werner Herzog documentary with Ted Nelson, and it's just absolutely delightful to hear him talk about a file system like water, because he comes from a filmmaker perspective, but he's also a computer scientist. Rest in peace, bro. Um, but one of the big inspirations for this is a project called Oriole. So let's see, 9 years ago, 8 years, 9 years ago, Paco Nathan talked about a program that O'Reilly was doing where they basically synced up notebooks and film and video. You could play code that Peter Norvig wrote. And Fernando said, in Oriole, we get the complete integration of video synchronized with the flow of text. That's something to explore there. At the end, we actually learned some like early prescriptions for writing and making notebooks that are good for video. Focusing on units of thought, like scoping things, is very important. Restart and run all. That has influenced me since I saw this talk. If it doesn't restart and run all, GTFO. Um, so uh, I personally find from like the outside and the some of the situations I find myself in, like presentations and conferences right now are fairly inequitable. Like some people can't afford it, some people can't travel, it's not safe, it's not accessible, there's uncertain risks, some people can't expend the time or the spoons to do this. So I really think that video sort of liberates some of this and kind of makes the web a stage. And then it also makes the in-person presentation more important, right? It's like seeing the band after you've been listening to it. So I really think that streaming and presenting can liberate ideas. And this actually is not a new thing. There's a paper about film. It's called In Defense of the Poor Image. And it talks about the poor image being uploaded, downloaded, shared, reformatted, re-edited, transformed into accessibility and exhibition, having value in film and clips and all this like media mashing, basically. It sounds like cassettes and mixtapes and skateboard videos. And I really think that there's something to learn from those cultures. So, I started thinking about like, what can we learn from like old modern art? How can we practice art in the notebook sort of thoughtfully? This is an old Duchamp video that plays at the MoMA, but it's just simple circles. But like a few simple circles that you can stare at for minutes is kind of these letters are on a wheel. It's amazing. It's absolutely beautiful. Anyway, so this digital video concept is like critical in digital cultures. Having presentations and few digital interactions makes it hard to have the digital culture. So being able to make video has propelled skateboarding, BMX, voguing, rollerblading, roller skating, calligraphy. Like calligraphy used to be a static thing, but now you can watch somebody do it and it's so calming and beautiful. And what it really is talking about is the work around the work has made these things accessible. It's not about doing it right, it's about the style and how you do it. So for me, from an accessibility perspective, I'm interested in exploring video and audio because they're multimodal elements. I can have multiple tracks in there, multiple kinds of text, multiple data about this thing, and it really helps me, and it really makes me think very hard about how to make this accessible. So the first thing that I want to talk about is a video of a notebook being made. So this is a stream I did with where we went from a blank notebook to an accessible heat map. There's a screen reader user on the call. I'm making MB convert things. I'm sending it to them by email. They're opening it up in the screen reader, telling me what they hear. And in an hour and a half, we actually had like an accessible solution. So that kind of feedback I never would have been able to have through text. From the concept of having a notebook already to making that video, a notebook in the hand is worth two in the bush. So what I mean by that is if you make a notebook and then you do a stream about that notebook, you're also making a notebook about that stream. So you're doing commentary, video commentary, which is really important work around the work for somebody to understand what's happening. So notebooks kind of multiply. This is one where I have a notebook, I make a stream, and I make a new notebook, but I also export a whole video version of this notebook with a screen reader running. And then some of the really weird stuff that I've been getting into is putting sorry, I don't know what I stopped thinking about time at this point. And just kind of go into quality. Oh, we're good. All right, great. Thanks, Rosio. So I wanted to kind of get to the end here, and this is the Palmer Penguin data set. And I wanted to explore let's see, let's get to a little dancey. Yeah. So the Palmer penguins, it's the less able or less controversial data set for PCA. I plotted them in some HTML and then I put video elements there, and I thought it was really fun just to see what it would look like and how the colors would interact. Again, these are studies, but I've never looked at visualization so long. So that brings me to like notebooks as oh, let me show you the next one that I've done. This was an experiment I did yesterday where I took a study of some modern art, and then I started thinking, oh, well, what if I could, put some video elements inside some circles, like this is just like natural material now. And then what sort of happens, it's like, I don't know, I think it's quite fun. It's an interesting mirror. So that was some new work, and at this point I've done multiple streams, so this is like a practice. They're usually about an hour, hour and a half, 2.5 hours. You start to get tired, but again, it's a practice and it's sort of forward thinking. So all of these streams here, they have a notebook that comes out of them. And we are also start to see the value in having these videos ahead of time is that I can go and start stitching things together from other pieces and like taking static shots out of them. This is a skateboard magazine technique. When we had VHS early on, we'd go and fill up the page with like 12 or 16 shots. And now, it becomes interesting and it starts to capture the process. So we can almost like do that in reverse. So I did some calligraphy in that one. This one here, I just listened to an article, listened to two essays, and did some drawing while it was happening. And again, all of these things are in the notebook, happening in the notebook. This is some data frame work. So, there's such a variety of topics that can be tackled in here. For me, especially, this notebook is a really good mirror. For me, it's like pictures and high resolution ones upset me. So this helps me like avoid a static perception of myself. It helps me experiment with like video being the most perceivable media type. Streaming and filming creates organic content. A lot of people say it takes a long time to generate minutes of content, but if you're streaming and filming and you film and you do that for 3 hours, you have a 3-minute video. So, persistence in this process is great. B-roll be great for the culture. Building a backlog is more important than building viewers, and seeing yourself and practicing and improving. Um, and one of the things I keep learning is like I really have to use MB Convert to export stuff in Jupyter for an accessible experience. I don't know if there's something to that actually as like a simpler way to interact. Um, and lastly, my suggestion is for everybody, download OBS right now and start. You don't have to stream. Maybe record a little bit. Hear yourself. Tolerate yourself. See yourself. It'll be a little bit. It'll be for some people. It might feel better than others. But starting sooner than later, and sharing with other people, I think, is an opportunity to build a digital culture around these things that could uphold some of the more in-person and visible parts of the work.